The recording is on.
Hey, are we ready?
We're ready.
All right. Let's see. Roll call, please, Joe.
Brown,
Here.
Preston,
Here.
Mike Parker,
Here.
Jim Lewis,
Here.
Jim Snyder.
Note that Mike Parsons is also online. Roger Tome.
Okay. All right. Now for the consent agenda, I need a motion as presented.
I so move.
Second that.
Okay, it was moved by Wayne and seconded by Mike. Roll call, please.
Wayne Brown,
Here.
Preston,
Yes.
Jim Lewis,
Yes.
Jim Snyder.
Thank you. Now, resolution 21-06, code enforcement policy.
Okay. Code enforcement policy, we talked about that, there we go, last month, and this is having some structure. With violations of the code. Don't get a whole lot of these, like I said, but I think it's about we did make a couple.
Getting it out.
I did make a change. Actually, I'm going to ask. Hey, can you hear us? Can you put up on your computer and share it, because I heard on this computer for some.
Carl, your audio is cutting out very faint in there. I don't know if you can turn up that phone.
Can you pull up the revised document that had the track changes on it that I put out yesterday, and share that to the screen?
Oh.
I'll see it.
Yeah, I can do that. Hold on.
Background.
Yeah, it's appropriate.
Yeah, basically, so bottom line is what we're doing here is we're kind of defining very specific levels of violations and what the sanctions are. All this within the limits that currently exist. So we have, there's a limit, a maximum penalty of $2,000 for a violation. So that's.
Okay, you should see it now on your screen.
We have a provision in our code that says violations, the minimum. The changes that I made from what was in the packet is under number.
How's it going?
I'm on a conference call.
That was Wayne.
Okay.
He's on the conference call.
Oh, no. Okay, so I just added a clause there that said if the severity of the violation is such that.
Carl, can you check the audio in the boardroom because we don't hear you?
Okay, I'm gonna move it to the middle here. Is that better?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. So, just to clarify that, have this progressive enforcement, it starts with a warning and then a written warrant, notice, and then, but there may be an instance where the violation is so egregious, that part of it.
I'm glad you did that, but that happens,
Yeah, and then the other one is under the remedies for noncompliance, those are different from what's in your packet, but,
I would have this. How do you make the decision? Is there a quantifiable thing, or is it eye of the beholder kind of thing?
yeah, I think it's a judgment call that we would have to make. I think if it's, a lot depends on, if it's something that is ongoing, I think that would rise. Deliberate and intentional, somebody, has a septic tank truck and rolls up and dumps it into a. You don't need a warning to know that not to. Again, I think it ultimately.
Were you wanting to look at the sample? Found it.
Potentially, like
I check this. Those of us on the phone are only getting like half the words, so.
I'm getting the same thing. This is Mike Parsons. About 50% of the audio is dead air.
That's because Jim's talking 50% of the time.
No, I'm not sure what it is. It's all plugged in pretty well.
The computer plugged in?
I'm checking.
Okay.
He's using the phone.
Yeah,
Okay.
but,
And he needs to speak up.
well, I don't think it's just the speaking up. It's like totally silent.
Because I'm hearing, I think I'm hearing all of it, though I'm crunching, so it's hard to tell.
okay.
Yeah, I don't know. It looks all plugged into me, but. If we don't respond, it's because we don't hear you saying
Okay.
anything.
We do have the chat provision. You can send a chat through the Zoom and we can clarify something if you can't hear.
But
Anyway.
which one are you?
Get back to Jim's question about, what, how we would make the decision of skipping 1 and 2. I think, like I said, I think it is,
Where's Carl?
we could consult with an attorney depending on the nature of it, but I think in most of these situations, it's going to be very immediate that's happening.
I can see the wisdom of having it. I'm just having some kind of background, so you don't affect.
Those scenarios. That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, if we're going to, if we're going to file a civil action,
Right.
yeah, we would certainly have legal.
That's specifically what you're concerned about, Jim, or with any of
I was just
them?
looking at the human nature side of things.
Right.
When you have something that's eye of the beholder, and somebody actually challenge you and take you to court and win, and it's rock solid case that
Yeah.
what we're doing and nobody.
I mean,
legal
we
standpoint.
rarely do that. I would say almost exactly 2, 3, but what we're doing is option right now. Hard to think of an instance, right, because we've never talked to before, but there are times when vendor, it had trouble getting. I would think that we would only be doing that if it was have probably a wealth of evidence.
I agree, it's a good idea to do it, just don't get caught on the back end of somebody.
I agree, because I think if we did up to there, it would be in the Regis case, have overwhelming evidence of why we moved to what we did, so. Yeah, everything else is all written out pretty discreetly. That's what I liked about it, is how we would handle everything. I liked that you added that part. And I think that we may use it, but I don't think we'll have to very often anyway, but it's nice to have that in backup. So I think it covers everything.
I mean, my goal with revising this is really to have something that, are, I guess, action. Spend a lot of time working with people on these things, and it's sometimes it feels like if we had something with a little more oomph behind it, we might get.
I agree, yeah.
Having to.
Yeah, because it's distinct, how you handle things. This is the, you've got that code enforcement policy, you can hand it to people, they know what to expect. Okay. Any
Okay.
other questions? Anything else?
I think that's all I have on this one.
Have the resolution? What is what? Moved by, Jim Lewis and seconded by Mike. Roll call, please.
Wayne Brown,
Brown is on,
Wayne Brown,
he's muted.
Yours. Yeah. Ben, can you unmute?
Can you hear me?
Yes, you can.
okay, we're doing roll call. Wayne Brown,
Yes.
Ray Harrison,
Yes.
Mike Parker,
Yes.
Jim Lewis,
Yes.
Jim Snyder.
Yes.
Okay, resolution 2106 has been passed. Now we'll go to, ordinance number 21-02, revision Title 7 of the RVSS code.
Okay, this is the second reading. This is the amendment to Title VII, which is the industrial pretreatment ordinance. And as we talked last month, this is part of our regional agreement with Medford. We have to have the identical rules in place for managing industrial and gives you authority to the treatment. Second reading and passage, and then it would go. somebody to,
I so move.
Thank you, Wade.
Revision to Title 7 of the RVSS. Okay, say that again, Wayne.
I think Wayne
I
beat you
so
to it.
move.
Second.
Okay, you move it, I'll second it then.
Okay.
Okay, Wayne made the motion for ordinance number 21-02, and Mike did the second. Roll call, please.
Wayne Brown,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Mike Parker,
Yes.
Jim Lewis.
Yes.
Thank you. Now, for financial updates. Brenda?
Okay, can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I wanted to start off on page 3, down in the fixed asset section. My last presentation, the auditors had not completed our audit or the evaluation of Shady Cove assets that we acquired in the annexation. So, if you look at the fiscal year 19 and 20 comparison, there was a huge jump in our assets. And of that, 4.7 million is what we acquired from Shady Cove. So I wanted to point that out, as well as in the second quarter, there was discussion about our payroll percentage not being in alignment due to the double payrolls that we have. If you look at the third quarter, we're now at 72%. So as we had said, it will even out towards the end of the year, and as you see, it's starting to even out. And the other specific item is when we're looking at capital, we're significantly lower than budgeted. I attribute that mainly a significant portion due to the pump station replacement that we had 2.2 million budgeted for, and we've only gotten about 500,000 so far. So that's where I noted the significant difference in the capital that we budgeted. That's all I have. Any questions?
Brenda? Questions? All right. Project update?
All right. I think you said project update.
Yes, I did, I'm sorry, yeah.
Oh, no, it's not your fault. I'm just making sure. So starting with J325, our road pump station, this is moving along slowly, unfortunately. Procurement of materials and equipment is pretty brutal right now. So, but the design's been sent to the equipment provider. The design has also been sent to DEQ for approval, and I'm just about through that process with DEQ. So we're still moving forward. J326 Alameda Fire Service Abandonment. This is now moved into the, permit issuance phase for connections, and it's, I believe our inspector Dan, this is who inspects the fire burned area. He's averaging about 10 permits a day, connection permits, which is quite a few. Like that's quite high. So along with FEMA is putting in multiple housing projects, and I just got done reviewing one of those, and so it's keeping us pretty busy at this point, which was anticipated, but it is we're on our toes, that's for sure. Gangness sewer rehab, this project's all but done. There is 1 or 2 punch list items that need to be completed to release retainage. We did have a payment for their final work that they completed in April of $60,000 and approximately $60,000. J331 Oak Valley Sewer Reconstruction. We've talked a lot about this one. You guys are well familiar with it. It's under contract, and we're handling the contract administration at this point. The sounds like PVC pipe is a little difficult to get right now. And they said about 8 weeks at the time of the bid. And so, you know, we've got 3-4 weeks left. So hopefully we can get up and running here pretty soon. And off to the races. They should start submitting manhole shop drawings and for review. I don't know if you've seen any of those yet, Carl.
Oh, not yet.
Okay. So moving along, J332 Central Point Force Main Rehab. We have this to be constructed next fiscal year. We should get this out to bid right at the first part of next fiscal year. We're pushing for July right now. There's a lot of moving parts and pieces on this one, a lot of stakeholders. We've got Central Point wanting to do some stormwater work out there. We've got a very concerned adjacent property owner, and as well as another property owner that has the majority of the reconstruction is on his property. We have an easement, but he's been more than willing to work with us. There's also a lot of interest in the entire area in the Gebhardt, BB Road, Hamrick Road area for development. And so we're working with all those folks to make sure we put the sewer back in a place that's advantageous for everybody. So we think we've got a pretty good handle on that at this point. J337 Schaefer Lane Rehab. This is a pretty unnotable project. It's 281 feet of old 6-inch pipe in Medford. That, you know, kind of was brought to our attention because one of the services backed up a couple months ago. We went out and fixed it, and it was just one of those ones that's kind of a slam dunk, and it's an easy one for our construction crew to go do, and it needs to be done. So we started the design, and we're pretty much done with it. We're just waiting for next fiscal year when this is budgeted. Done pump replacement. This project, as I alluded to before, procurement of materials is just really pretty tough right now. We've, along with the consultant and kind of going through the whole, and the contractor, we've decided to push the contract end date out to October 21st, sorry. That is consistent with the original project schedule submitted by the contractor relative to procurement times for gate valves and VFDs. I'm sure everybody's familiar with the chip shortage and just materials in general, just really, really hard to get right now. That said, with the contract, we really don't have any other choice but to push this back because it's somewhat out of the contractor's control. There's a very strong case that could be made that the contractor should have known that before the bid, but it's, you know, everybody knows it's such a fluid environment right now with material procurement and COVID and everything else, all of the above, that we pushed it back in order to work with the contractor and make sure they, we stay amicable through the process and they do a good job, and we don't have to push them and have an adversarial relationship before they even get started. So that's where we are on that. We're fully, I guess, prepared for that with the budget. We've double budgeted for this project. It's a big chunk of change, but we are prepared to go into next fiscal year all the way into October. So, but that being said, they plan on coming down within the next month or so and setting up bypass, and they have a bunch of the equipment ready to go and to be delivered, and we'll start doing work within 1.5 months is the hope. So that is, one other thing to note on this project. Carl, years ago, 2007, Carl, 2008, you guys installed the 30-inch force main?
Yeah, about that time, yeah.
Yeah, which Carl had designed the 30-inch force main that was, we're currently running on a 27 and a 30. Carl had designed that 30-inch force main to accommodate the entire flow coming out of Dunn. The old 27-inch is a concrete lined steel pipe, which is old. It was built in the 60s, and we really don't know the full condition of it. There was some cathodic protection put on years ago, and but the 30-inch was designed to take the whole flow. So in anticipation of that, we need to get all of the services that are tied and other force mains that are tied into the 27 transferred over to the 30. Most notably, we have two systems at the intersection of High Banks Road that will be relocating. Seems fairly simple. It's a bit of it's a nervous process because we have to do a hot tap on the 30-inch force main, and we don't have any gate valves in the relative vicinity. So if something did go bad, that's a whole lot of sewer that we'd have to account for. But this is a pretty common thing for a lot of contractors, and but it makes me a little nervous, but we're taking all the precautions to be able to do that. We've got our permits with the county and ODOT to be able to do that before they come through and reconstruct and turn Kirtland Road into a full-blown highway 140. So just as an aside, I don't know if I've mentioned that one just yet. So other than that, that's all I have.
Got a question? Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, just one inquiry. On the projects and one project or maybe several of them, where you're having difficulty acquiring materials, do you have sufficient language already built into the contract to give the flexibility, or you need to cut some kind of amendment to the contract to give the flexibility?
Yeah, generally speaking, a change order is kind of always to adjust time. The contract time is always on the table. It's not something that I necessarily like to do, but it for all intents and purposes, it doesn't, unless it bumps into budgets and we have to shift money around and double budget and come to the board and say, hey, we didn't get this done in time. That's really the only harm. But yes, we have the change order vehicle. This particular project for Dunn, there's actually provisions in the contract that were included to account for delays specifically related to COVID, because the contract was created once we were well into COVID world. So there is a provision for that specifically that was accounted for. So yeah. But I didn't catch that. What was that, Jim?
Side talking.
Oh, yeah, I'm having a hard. Can you hear Jenny, or did you get into that? Oh, okay. So, but
It's pretty standard to adjust contract length for various reasons that are
yeah.
not a real difficult thing to do.
Hey, anything else? Okay, stormwater update, Jenny?
Okay, so I think I talked to you guys last month about down in the fire response area, we're turning over responsibility of maintaining all of the erosion and sediment control BMPs to the contractors. Typically, it would be their job to maintain those, from the get-go on any project. We have been maintaining them for, the last 8 months. And at this point, we're now turning them over to those contractors because it's mostly construction that's happening. But it's a lot of time that we're spending down there in conversation and doing the education. So the first part of our code enforcement policy is that education. We are spending a lot of time in this area on that. There's a lot of new people in the area, and I think there's a little bit different mentality. And so it's taking a lot of time. Moving on from that, we did do our Salmon Watch program in a modified form this April. Typically, that's something that we do in October, live in the field with the kids. Obviously, we couldn't do that this year. So what we did was Francis coordinated with RVCOG and did a live streamed version where they were in the field, the instructors were in the field, and the kids were in the classroom watching them, but the kids could interact with them. So that was an interesting thing, worked out well. We did a similar thing with our erosion and sediment control inspector certification, where we have that every November and every May. And we did this in November, and I did it again a couple weeks ago, where I held the class virtually. And then I had the people come in to do their field practicum in small groups so that we could get through around, work through all the COVID stuff and get everybody done. So we did, I think I certified 20 individuals for first time, and then we've got another 20 signed up for renewals this Friday. And then the last thing I've got on here is an update to the Rogue Valley Stormwater Design Manual. And so this is something that I typically bring to you guys this time of year, where the Stormwater Advisory Team, the SWAT, has voted to approve changes to the design manual. And the changes that were approved are in the table below. So the first change is that the threshold for requiring flow control on a project was raised from a 2,500 square foot impervious area all the way up to a 10,000 square foot impervious area for both redevelopment and development. So that change was approved. And so basically that means that anybody who's doing a project that's less than 10,000 square feet does not have to do any kind of detention on their project. And then the second change that was made was removing the allowance for devices certified for pre-treatment. And what this means is we use the Washington Technology Approval Program to, Washington's got a very detailed and thorough and robust program that's used nationwide by stormwater managers to determine what types of manufactured treatment devices meet certain thresholds of treatment and for certain pollutants. So we've been following that Washington approval program since 2012. And what happened was in 2018, their program changed the evaluation of a group of manufactured devices that we had been allowing, and basically determined that they were no longer meeting the approvals that Washington program establishes. And so they said these devices are no longer allowed because they don't meet the thresholds that we need them to meet. And so what we need to do in our manual is kind of catch up to that so that we are also no longer allowing those devices that are no longer meeting our thresholds either. And so the change here basically is to say these devices are no longer allowed because they don't meet the pollutant parameter thresholds that we need them to meet. So those both went before the SWAT in April and were approved by the SWAT. And just to remind you guys, so the SWAT consists of a representative from each of the MS4 permit holders in the area that has adopted the Rogue Valley Stormwater Design Manual. So the cities of Ashland, Medford, Talent, Phoenix, Central Point, Jackson County, and RVSS each has one vote on the SWAT to approve these changes to the design manual. So this was approved. And so what I'm looking for is approval from the board today as well for those changes. And I have to apologize because this should have come to you in the form of a resolution. And I think I actually drafted the resolution, but I've been a bit crazily in the last month and a half, 2 months, forever, like, and didn't get that resolution into the board packet. So, but if we could at least, I guess, Carl, can we go ahead and do an approval just on what's presented here? And then we could bring back a resolution in June if that's needed.
So we could make a motion to temporarily approve it with a resolution coming.
Well, yeah, we can make the motion to approve the changes to the design manual.
Okay.
And leave it at that, but it's nice to have a formal resolution that'll do the exact same thing so that.
Okay. So we just need a motion to accept the changes that have been made.
I so move.
My echo. Second.
Okay,
Wayne gets that.
Mike made the motion and Wayne also made the motion and Jim seconded.
We're covered.
Yeah. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Wayne Brown,
Yes.
Kristen,
Yes.
Mike Parker,
Yes.
Jim Lewis,
Yes.
Jim Snyder.
Yes.
Now, we are on to O&M updates.
Okay, collection system footages there in front of you are somewhat all normal. Time of year, skip down to the lagoons, received 282,750 gallons of septage, 48,115 gallons of porta potty waste, and 28,025 gallons of fog for a total revenue of $53,833.50. Special cleaning summary, 22 equipment hours and 47 labor hours are spent on special cleaning for a total cost of $3,935. And just to clarify, the Gold Hill special cleaning does not go into those numbers since it's its own entity and doesn't technically belong to us. So I can report how many hours, but you see we just flushed about 959 feet of the special cleaning was down in Gold Hill last month. Pump stations, nothing to report of any significance, but we have been installing our E1 systems on our step systems rehabs. So that's been ongoing. I think, and Nick can correct me if I'm wrong, I think we have about 6 to 8 of those installed in the last few months. So those are pretty nice to have and have the step tanks abandoned as a result. A lot lower maintenance on our end. Building and grounds, painting was underway last month in the admin building, but it's all done now. So what you see is the completed colors. So hope you enjoy those. If not, you must see Brenda.
Hey now,
I think Brenda did a great job picking out the colors. So she did.
thank you.
It looks really nice. Fog update. The City of Medford's water reclamation facility would like to meet with us so we may bring them up to speed on our fog program. Going forward, they're going to be running the city's fog program out of the source control department out there. So they want to get tuned up to see how we're doing it, and they want to do some ride-alongs and with us, and then they'd like us to ride along with them as well. So Carl's agreed that would be okay. So moving forward, we'll probably schedule a time where we can sit down with them and do that. Vehicles and equipment, we repainted the dump beds and the front bumpers on the dump trucks. They were looking pretty bad, so that got done. And the new construction truck is on schedule for completion for the end of this month and will be delivered first part of next month. And as Nick said, that we have ordered our equipment trailer some time ago, but are still waiting its delivery because of the same issues with procurement of materials. It's been difficult for us to get stuff on all fronts, including new equipment as well. So we're still waiting on that, and hopefully we'll have that and not have to carry that over as well.
Thanks, Shane. Anybody have any questions? Next, we have the managers.
Okay, so obviously, I mean, many months we're able to meet in person, which is, the guidance and the regulation on COVID is very, very fast, and it's hard to keep up with it.
Yeah.
But, as it stands right now, we are still under, the pushing guidance on indoor face covering, says you still have to do it. But capacity limits on all of our So we're allowed 6 people in this room, we're allowed 7 people in the following that guidance, although the CDC guidance obviously has surpassed that, and so I expect, the way it's going right now, it looks like we're are currently today still working on a slightly modified schedule office. Back starting June 1st, right after Memorial Day, to have the office staff. I haven't made a decision yet on when we're going to just open out the public, but I was thinking to wait till after. That just still have people come in, but they have to ring the bell and be admitted. Doesn't seem to be causing any hardship at all for a little bit longer. And then, things are, it's a bit of a tough year, but it's we're getting through it, and there. On the
impediments to getting your people.
I think people have been wanting. We do have one person on our staff who does have some. On the fire, we're still dealing with stuff fallout from the fire, but as far as our insurance claims and our working with FEMA, we're wrapped up with all of that. And insurance claims, I think we should be getting that payment here soon. That's moving easy. Fire, obviously the biggest is the one that they're taking the longest on. And the terms I used there were pending review and obligated. That's their terms. I don't know what they mean when they say obligated. I'm assuming that means they're, but we haven't gotten anything yet.
You're a line item, and
yeah.
And it's in ink and not pencil.
So that's moving pretty well. Unfortunately, with FEMA is the fellow that I was working with pretty much from the start left, and then left, and so I'm on my 3rd program manager now. That doesn't we already did our code enforcement policy, and then just a note, we had an election yesterday, and it looks like we got one more.
Screwed up. I didn't put anything.
Yeah.
That's what that feels.
Recuperating at the time.
Oh.
So we do. We have Roger. Roger Tome is actually an employee of the city of Medford. I've worked with him for. I've been here, so. Jacksonville, so he's been around. You're up to speed and you're with us. All I've got.
Anybody have any questions on anything? You all good?
Yeah, we're great.
I'm really glad that we could see each other again. And I'm sorry about hogging the checks. Yeah, good lunch. We got lunch. Yeah. I'm sorry about hogging the checks. I'm used to being the only one here, and I have to go back to work. So I thought I didn't think about it, that you guys could, yeah. Anyway. Now we need to, pay the bills, pay claims.
So move, we pay the
I'll
bills.
second them.
Thank you, Ray. Okay, moved and seconded?
That's correct.
Wayne Brown,
Yes.
Kay Harrison.
Yes.
Mike Parker.
Yes.
Jim Lewis.
Yes.
Jim Snyder.
Yes.
Thank you, guys. Motion to adjourn?
I shall motion.
So,
All in favor, say aye.
Yeah.
We're
aye.
done. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, thank you all.
You have
Nice to meet you, Roger.
Getting our meal together.
I need to find it, but I don't see it.
Good job, guys.
Thank you.
Oh, man. There.
How you feeling, Wayne? Oh, Wayne's leaving.
I'm feeling great.
Good. It's good to hear. You home now?
Yeah, I'm at the house.
Okay, that's good.
Yep, I'm being rehabbed, as they say. They send people out every other day